Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I am going to do an audio check as soon as things come through. Oh, I forgot to make more drink. Oh no. Oh no. I can do that when I need to. That's not a problem. But I was like, oh, the list of things I was going to try to do included refilling my super big cup with more caffeine. But good morning, everyone. Hello. Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Massachusetts today. It's in the mid 70s. I had a really pleasant walk earlier, and so that was really nice. I need to remember that the camera is there. All right, but I'm supposed to be audio checking. The mid 70s. Great. That's working great. Oh man. Okay. Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Dyeing to Spin series, where I started off by dyeing some roving. I have it saved here in a plastic bag. I have one full braid here that I have not yet retouched. And then we have the amount of fiber that I started spinning last time. And, you know, there's definitely less. We definitely have some fiber on the bobbin. Let me see. I think I downloaded an image. Yes, I did. Of course, we're going to be massive. Let's see. Show transition. I cannot see. Transform. There we go. Fit to screen. There we go. I can make it smaller. Okay, this is what the bobbin looks like right now. This is what it looks like. You can see, even though you can't see my mouse, that there are some areas, I would say right between, you can see the strand that starts to go through whatever, one of the hooks. And right to the left of that, you can see some sections of over twist that I have. But the colors are blending together really beautifully. In the picture, the color I'm seeing a little bit of the least of is the more teal. But that might be, I do see hints of it. It might be underneath things, but also we have sort of a watercolory effect on our fiber to start with. And so therefore, as I spin it, things are going to blend more and more and more. Let me see the chat. Let's see. The dress is so cute. Oh, thank you. I decided to try like wearing a dress for this today instead of shorts, because then I don't have to look at my knees on camera. It's funny. I didn't try to match. I tried to think, okay, what's a dress that is not so long that will cover my knees when I'm sitting, but not be so long that it'll get in my way when we actually start to spin. Oh yes, please give the video a thumbs up. That is the biggest way that you can help support the channel. Watching, engaging, commenting in the chat, that is the biggest way you can support. Now, there's a lot of things that are going on before I start spinning. The first, I also have to remember that even though it's on face cam, I can't like hike the skirt up because I'm on camera. My legs are on camera. Announcements include, all right, Knitpicks is having, as I drop it in chat, a Labor Day sale. You can save 20% off, and the thing went away because that's of course what it did. 20% off site-wide using the code 8labor25. This sale goes through September 9th. No, sorry, September 7th. September 7th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And so I'm assuming that the code is a single use, but these codes should stack with bulk bare yarn discounts. Any discounts that are priced as marked, it should go on top of. The one exception, usually, if we go to like terms and conditions, it's not going to say, but there are like some items that are excluded from their site-wide sales, and that includes tools, I'm assuming that includes the spinning wheels, which I should have it linked. This is the spinning wheel that I am using. I have the clear finish. It is a Kromski Fantasia spinning wheel. That's the one that I have right here. I do have it linked in the video description. And so, yeah, this is the wheel that I have. And actually, everything that I'm using today comes with the wheel. I'm not using any additional accessories. So there's that. The other thing, the other announcement, and this is pinned in the chat, it's also in the video description, my Halloween mystery yarn pre-order is now open. And I'm just checking. It doesn't look like anything is sold out, but if the yarn base that you want that is sold out, send me a message on Etsy and I can adjust the numbers. But the options are, there's a fingering weight yak blend, a DK weight superwash merino yak linen blend, and then you can pick from a mystery sock DK or worsted non-yak base. Now, everything is being dyed up with the exact same colorway, but the yak bases start off as like an oatmeal-y brown color. So the final colorways will look different there than they will on the non-yak yarns. So there is that. But actually, this gives me a video idea. Dye up non to look like yak. Okay, that's a video idea. I'm not doing that for Halloween, but I think it would be fun to try to mix brown dye to get the bare yarn starting at the same place. Those are most of the announcements. There's another one, but I'll come to that one later. To camera. All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to do before I start spinning. I don't think so. Oh, I suppose one other thing, the 2024, so last year's Hanukkah samplers are on sale through the end of August. There's a coupon code in the video description that you can see. Okay, so here is our fiber. Now, once again, I am going to start, because you could spin, again, directly from this, but what I like to do is, instead of, I guess, pre-drafting, I don't know what you would call this, pre-pulling down the length just to separate it. If I were to, and I talked about this a little bit last time, if I were to start just with the full piece of roving at one end and then spin directly from that, then what we would end up with would be larger sections of color. And I can go ahead and separate this further to give me something closer to pencil roving. Having the fiber be thinner makes it easier to draft. And drafting, which I suppose I didn't define last time, drafting is the process by which you take fibers and then you pull some of the fibers. So you'll see that this part is not moving. We are pulling the fibers against each other to make it even thinner to spin. Now that makes it easier to pull apart, and so when you're doing that, you're going to want to hold on to things. And so if you're getting started off with spinning, one thing I recommend is to play around with your drafting before you bring over your drop spindle or whatever it is you're going to use. And I need all my other tools, so there is that. Now I will also add, I am not a master spinner. I would call myself maybe an advanced beginner, advanced novice. I can do pretty much one thing. I do have some amount of control over what it is that I'm doing. Did I not loosen? Okay, I removed that. Excuse me. Okay. Gotta pick this up where we left off. The nice thing is that I'm starting to pull the yarn through at a section of over twist because this fiber down here is much more delicate. And I'm trying to think. see this well. Oh, okay. Phew. Okay, I think we are about ready to go. I'm going to have to adjust. Okay. Now, I did get a question about whether or not, that is not the piece I wanted. This is the piece I wanted. Whether or not I got rope, you get rope burn from this. And that is not the issue that I personally have with spinning. The thing that was harder for me, and I really just laid end over end, but I need to be careful because I pre-drafted this area. The issue for me was that my hand got tired from physically gripping. Physically gripping and pinching. Now there are other ways to draft, but this is the way. Oh, I did not oil the wheel. I was so tired I forgot. There are different ways people draft. I like to hold the fiber in one hand where I feel sort of the drafting in the fibers, and that gives me some tension. Speaking of tension, where I can feel it, and then I pull forward with the other one, and then as I slowly bring my pinched fingers back, I'm allowing the twist to travel up. And so this is a situation where there is no twist in between my two hands, because once you introduce, oh, thank you someone, once you introduce twist in between your hands, then it becomes harder to draft, which is the reason why adding twist to the fibers allows us to create a yarn. So that I think is very, very cool. Now, one thing I do want to do, let's see, I did ask for people to give me some questions. And so I'm trying to think. All right. So I saw one of the questions was, how did I get started? And I'm going to answer that as for how I got started spinning. I got started spinning by buying a drop spindle with some fiber off of eBay, trying to spin some yarn and failing miserably. And the reason why I failed so badly was that I think I had my fiber this thick and I was getting twist in it, and I was trying to draft and I couldn't draft it. And with a drop spindle, having something that's this thick with that little twist per inch that's needed, I couldn't keep the drop spindle spinning. Now, drop spindles are more challenging than a wheel, because on the wheel, I use my feet to treadle, and then I can just focus on drafting with my hands. With a drop spindle, you have to stop to rewind things more, but you are also, as you go, the drop spindle gets heavier and heavier, which is giving you more tension, more prone to breakage. And so it's just, there's more things you need to think about. You need to think about, okay, do I have this set up right? Do I need to twist it again so it doesn't all untwist and then fall apart, and things like that. But a drop spindle is only like $20, and so it's a really great way to get started. And so I wanted to learn how to spin for a long time. So I bought my drop spindle off of eBay, tried it out, failed, and so then let it hibernate for a while. And then I tried again and successfully got some twist in something that I could call yarn. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I practiced around with like silk hankies. Maybe I bought some fiber from Knit Picks similar to this. This is, oh right, this is Peruvian Highland wool, wool of the Andes, Peruvian Highland wool. And I think what maybe makes sense is to move my face down there today. So I got some fiber and I dyed it and I would spin it. The one thing I couldn't do with my drop spindle really though was ply yarn, because I didn't have any bobbins. I didn't really have any good way. Maybe I made a center pull ball and plied from both ends, but I struggled with that a little bit. Let's see. Spouse overheard and said anniversary gift. What type of fiber am I spinning? Great question. This is Wool of the Andes roving that I hand dyed. It is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. It is a very forgiving fiber to spin because it is very, very grippy. It is not slippery, and so it does not fall apart easily. I also love, I was terrified of spinning merino at first. Merino is less grippy, it is smoother, and its staple length is shorter, and so I was afraid of it, but then it turned out to not be that bad. It's just, I think with merino I would have a lot more breakage accidentally, which then like you deal with, right? Let's see. Yeah, so the drop spindle, I think that if I were to go and pick up my drop spindle, which I only found one of them. I feel like I bought a Turkish drop spindle for myself. And actually, so a Turkish drop spindle is one that has like a cross at the bottom. So that way, instead of winding, where's it? Paradise Fibers also sent me a beautiful drop spindle. I couldn't find it though. Oh, it could be in that box with that fiber I said. Okay, so here's a drop spindle. This is the shaft. I like ones that have a hook along the top versus on the bottom. And so then it spins, you kind of have the fiber, the twist goes from the hook up. You draft, it gets close to the floor, you wind it around. And on this one, you would wind the yarn around this shaft. But there are Turkish drop spindles that at the bottom, because you want it to be weighted at the bottom, it has more of a cross, okay? And so you can wind around that, and then one of the pieces pulls out, so then you can slide off a center pull ball, which is easier than trying to like put this in a box to rotate it to pull the yarn off, where then you can get some breakage. And so that is stressful. Now, again, it is a lot more, there's a lot more muscle memory involved. Someday, now that I've started spinning again, someday I will try it again. But I don't know that I will do that great of a job because it's been a very, very long time. So I just wanted to share that. Spam, do not need. I was like, I have to check to see who is calling. So yeah, that's how and so then how I came to pick a wheel. I went to, gosh, was it Stitches Midwest in like Schaumburg, Illinois. And there was a wheel, a vendor there that had a wheel that you could test on. And I sat down and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. So easy. And the other thing I loved about this Kromski Fantasia is that it has a tiny footprint. Like aesthetically, it is very modern. I would love to have like a more antique looking one. To be fair, I technically have an antique spinning wheel, like a legit 100-year-old antique more than 100-year-old probably, antique spinning wheel that someone found in their barn, but it's missing all the like hardware and stuff. It's mostly just decoration at this point. Just like I have an antique sewing machine that is unusable because my family spends a lot of time, or used to spend a lot of time on Mackinac Island, and up there when like my parents have a house, and houses come completely furnished and with decades of belongings in there to go through. And so like we even found so a former Supreme Court justice from like who was president after McKinley. The house used to be owned by a Supreme Court justice who was Secretary of State under President McKinley. And we found in the barn carbon copies of all of the letters he had written while working on like the McKinley Memorial. There's letters to excuse his son from Jim, and we donated them to, my dad just donated them to the Supreme Court Library archives. but it was like a series of years where like all of his like correspondence was missing. And so we had these like carbons of every letter he wrote. And so it was super, super cool. I guess we found those when I was little, and it was more recently that someone put my dad in contact with a historian who helped him like do this. And yeah, and so it goes to show that like new historical documents and things, like there's nothing that is like that groundbreaking unless you're interested in this individual probably. But there can be small things added to the record at any time, because who knows what's sitting in an old trunk in a barn under a bunch of tack, right? That, and like, you know, and it was probably like 4 families ago of owners, and just, you know, sat there because no one wanted to deal with it. Your spindles tend to hold around 25 grams of fiber. Yeah, so on this bobbin, I can fit about 100 grams. But anyway, that's a big digression. And so that's a similar way that I have this antique spinning wheel, because one of the things that my mom used to be involved with was that they would do like a yard sale every year for the medical center on the island. The island is so small. There's no like hospital or anything. There's a medical center, and probably for an emergency, you'd probably get, I don't know if you get like helicoptered off. I don't know how that would work. But for the medical center, and so people would go through and clear out their barns, because that's what you do. And so one year there was like this spinning wheel, and so my mom like set it aside and then bought it. Oh no! See, okay, I broke because the tension got too much, and I was not paying that much attention. And so I can release tension on the brake band. And so my parents' house is from, let's see, how are we doing? My parents' house is from the 1880s. So I would say, I mean, I would need someone to actually like date it for me or something, right? But I would say that that's likely how old the spinning wheel is. But again, I don't think it's functional. But you know, it looks like it belongs in Sleeping Beauty or something. You don't know what the difference is, but you've been more successful with a Turkish drop spindle. So the Turkish drop spindle, which it could be something different, but let me see. I'm gonna have to awkwardly lean. Oh dear. Sorry everyone for like hitting everything, and I'll have to check the focus again. All right, let's go to, that is not what I want. Okay, going over to Paradise Fibers. Okay, oh no, I don't want to sign in. Okay, so this is what I would call a Turkish drop spindle. And so you can see how there's these 2 cross pieces. And I think that what would happen is that you can slide them off. Maybe they just slide up through the top where the hook is. And so then you can, so they would slide off, so you can just kind of remove all the yarn without having it all wound around the shaft. They sent me a beautiful one. So there's different, like the hooks can be on different ends. But yeah, so that is what that is. And it looks like Paradise Fibers is also having a sale, a Labor Day sale. Nope, nope. Oh, I moved. I looked at this and I was like, I moved the camera. And I was like, where am I? Where am I? You want to spin a ton of Gotland and you want to make a replica of the clothes from Lord of the Rings. Oh, that's so cute. That's a lot of fun. Okay, so that's how I got started, and I guess included in there are my tips for newbies. Those were 2 questions that I had. Of course, please continue to leave questions in the chat. Actually, speaking of chat, you know, I was listening to something about like Gen Z, Gen Alpha slang recently, and they're like, oh, they use chat to refer to like groups of people. And I was like, what? And because, you know, I'll be like, oh, hi, chat, right? Because instead of saying hi, guys, because you guys are literally a live stream chat. And so I was like trying to tell my kids, is like, that's where they think that came from, is because streamers will say, you know, give a shout out to the chat. Hey, chat, how you doing? And things like that. And so it's just funny because I'm like, I stream and saying otherwise, like, I am not up with Gen Z slang in any kind of way. But I just thought that that was funny. Other tips for newbies. I'm just debating if I want to, okay, this is what I think I want to do. Okay, Rebecca, this is tips for newbies question. I was asked if I had any tips for newbies when it comes to spinning yarn. And my first tip would be to start with a drop spindle. I'm here using a Kromski Fantasia spinning wheel, which is a much bigger investment. But drop spindles can start at $20 and are a great way to see if you enjoy the process. Even though it is logistically more challenging to use a drop spindle than it is to use a wheel. You can see that this is pretty easygoing. But another tip I have, if you've just started spinning, is to get some kind of fiber subscription. 2 fiber subscriptions that I have been involved with in the past are Into the World, which I did that one as a customer, and then Paradise Fibers used to send me their Fiber of the Month Club to unbox. And the perk of having a mystery fiber subscription is that not only do you get a bunch of different types of fiber that you can play around with, but sometimes you get colors that you don't like, and so then you're more likely to take a risk and spin it in a way. And some of that has ended up being my favorite yarn, because sometimes if it's a colorway I love, I'm like, ooh, I need to save this for something special. I want to know more about what I'm doing before I try it. And so those are 2 fiber clubs that I found really, really helpful. Another thing you can do is look for local spinning guilds. A stranger gave me trash bags full of fibers of various types for free because, you know, she wanted to pass something on to a newbie, and that also was really helpful for me starting to learn how to spin yarn. No idea how coherent that is. Okay, I'm going to do another one. Start recording. Rebecca, this one was Instagram. Did I get any professional training for spinning or dyeing yarn? No. I am self-taught, for better or for worse. With spinning, I started with a drop spindle and then failed and waited a while and restarted. With yarn dyeing, I started with way too much white 20% wool. Found online that you could dye it with Kool-Aid, and so I ran to the supermarket, got all the Kool-Aid packets I could find, and then I suppose the rest is history. Now, if you There are many great tutorials out there for both spinning and dyeing yarn, not just to toot my own horn, for dyeing at least. Spinning, I'm still a novice, but there are many resources that can help you figure out how to do it at home. I am going to redo part of that end because I was running out of fiber. Gonna remove that little bit of twist. Oh, completely pull it apart. Probably ruin the focus. Okay. It's a lot harder to do this than I thought. Okay. There are many great resources out there for spinning yarn, not from. There are many great resources out there for dyeing yarn, not just to toot my own horn, and also for spinning. I don't make a lot of spinning tutorials because I consider myself to still be probably an advanced novice, but a novice still. And so there are a lot of people out there that are, I guess, better at teaching and troubleshooting spinning than I am. But no, I have no formal training. Oh my, the tension was too loose. But no, I have no professional training for either. Okay. Cool. Okay. I can bring my face back. I did not mean to end. As I squint. Okay, this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go get myself some more beverage. I am going to insert an ad, and I will be right back. And look, there's some great spinning resources in the chat. Oh no, your last fiber subscription box was basically straw. I think Paradise Fiber sent out flax once, which was pretty cool. If you want to know, oh, goody, I got an ad on my monitor. If you want to know my guilty pleasure soda of choice, I like Coke Zero with lemon in it, and so I add lemon to it. Let's see. Okay, what was I thinking? Ah, yes. Okay, and then, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, that was not good. That was not good. Now I can't see anything because I dropped my mouse. Ah, real life. Okay, I'm going to move this over here closer to me. At some point, I will film some more shots for a recap, but actually, I wanted to do one right now. And then, I wanted to ask if anyone, especially if you have a little badge next to your name, noticed anything different. So among all the different ways you can help support ChemKnits, one of the things you can do here on YouTube, well, there's a little there's a little dollar sign next to the chat, and so you can give a tip. Basically, you can do a super chat, which is like a tip. As I film some clips. I'm going to do that again. Get a shot of my wheel. Let's see. You copied my color combination in the superwash versus non-superwash video and dyed 8 ounces. Woohoo! Way to go! Thank you. Okay, let's do. Oh my. Just getting some B-roll. Do 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 do. Okay. Now I can put this camera. It's gonna twist itself. I can put this camera away for a little bit. I just wanted to get some shots because if I turn this into a big video, then I have footage. And yes, there's a 10th emoji, but the 10th emoji is a temporary one. There is a 10th emoji. We got enough channel members. So one of the things you can do is join to become a channel member. Yay, Beth, 39 months. That's amazing. Being a channel member starts at just $1. And then you get a badge next to your name and custom emotes. And so we now have a 10th emote. Now the one that I put in was a option that the artist I commissioned gave me back in the day for the indie love emoji. And so that 10th one I added is not going to remain that one. It's not going to have the blush on his cheeks. It's a super subtle difference. And the other Tara, you've been a channel member for 30 months. Thank you so much. And Beth, thank you for dropping all those emotes in the chat. And so I wanted to talk about what you guys think the 10th emoji should be. And so it'll be a while because I have one idea that I'm not going to say what it is. I have one idea and I think it's one I can make myself. But if we have a few other ideas, then I can reach out if she is still in business. The graphic artist I used, I've been very, very happy with her work. And so I would absolutely hire her again to do more. So if there are any requests, let me know. I know that a lot of the emojis are things that I more use for myself. So like I use the yarn heart emoji, the celebration emoji, the facepalm emoji when I'm replying to comments a lot. And so the main purpose of all these emotes is really for me to use them because I want them. I use in videos the indie barking or the don't touch emoji a lot. Those are two that get used. Oh, I also use the laugh crying a lot. Now before I was thinking like what would I do if I replace one, and I would suppose the one me hugging a heart is possibly the one I use the least, but at the time I was trying to think of enough. Lisa Lehman, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Lisa said thank you for testing ideas and then sharing them with all of us. Thank you so much. It is my absolute pleasure to show things that work, things that don't work, and to try to talk about it along the way. I love what I do, and I appreciate all of you letting me play with yarn and fiber all the time. and I've realizing now that like some of the things that I need to do, and you know, I think that there will be less frequent spinning live streams as like we go forward into fall because things are going to get busier again. But maybe I'll need to plan like a month like January, like I did August, where I had fewer edited videos come out. And then I was like, okay, I want to do at least one spinning live stream or, you know, fiber dyeing live stream to get fiber for me to spin every single week. And so that was a goal that I had, and that is a goal that I achieved. And I'm very, very, very happy that I did that. And so maybe the next time it would be easy to do that would be January, just because I'm in January, I tend to be less busy when it comes to the actual dyeing and editing. In December, I can get really busy, but also, you know, we will have to see how things go. So let's see. A skein of yarn. Yeah, I don't know if it would come through. So I'm going to write that down. I don't know if it being really tiny, if it would be obvious that it was yarn, because I don't know if the yarn heart is always obvious to everyone that it is a yarn heart, you know? And so that is something that, yeah, I don't know if that is as obvious. For everybody. Yeah, because I would love other like yarn related ones. Let's see. You're starting to teach classes on spinning for color, and I've been instrumental in your learning to dye. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that I've been really helpful, because it's funny, like I still, like, I'll dye a lot of yarn a year, but then now, because of the way social media has gone where they want videos, more and more dyers are sharing clips of their like yarn dyeing process. But a lot of them have setups that are just way more intense than what I have. Because, you know, like I have the ability to heat maybe 3 pans at once, but only 2 on my stove. And so, yeah, I like that I can show like small batch dyeing and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I dream of having more space. I don't know if I would be interested in like the electric chafer warmers that you can put then those steam pans in to dye yarn, just because I think they take a really long time to heat up. And so I don't know what I think about that. But okay, I'm glad that I moved where my face is. It's weird though, because I keep looking and thinking that my face isn't there because it's now in the lower screen. Oh man. But yeah, I added, so like even if the number of channel members goes down, we will not lose the emoji spot. But I wanted to add one quickly before it disappeared. You know, Beth, I absolutely thought about that too. Because I don't think there are good Hanukkah emojis that exist out there. And so that is a fantastic idea. The squeaking is definitely related to the brake band. No, because I've been thinking I've been thinking about getting new ones anyway. Because my thought was, oh, before, like maybe we won't hit the target to get another one. And, you know, it would be nice if we could hit the target to get another one. And so then I was thinking about like which one would I swap out seasonally and things like that. Now, speaking of Mr. Puppy, Mr. Indy, who is upstairs, because otherwise when I'm streaming he would probably be underfoot, which would be chaotic and distracting. I suppose it wouldn't be as big a deal for a spinning live stream as it is for a dyeing one. Just because if I'm dyeing yarn, then for safety I don't want him around, and he normally he just sleeps in his bed in the like playroom slash homework room all day, but if I'm streaming then he wants to be present, which I find hilarious. But for spinning it probably wouldn't be that big a deal if he was underfoot. I mean, it might be, but now the thing that I like about spinning is that in theory this is something that is really easy for me to do while, say, watching TV with my family or something. Now in the summer we have way fewer family movie nights than we might in like the fall and things like that, and so we have not been spending as much time watching TV lately. But I have some knitting projects that I can't do while watching TV because oh my gosh, I absolutely cannot do them while watching TV because like there's too many like color work, slip stitches and things that I need to pay close attention to the pattern. And that is my hibernating. Stay. I think it's just right here. This is technically also a dyeing to knit video. I can't see myself. Let's see, this is a Princess Bride like shawl thing that is so fun. But you can see that there's just a lot, like there's some areas that are really easy, but there's just a lot going on and changing, and so I just have to pay attention to the instructions. What will the yarn be like? Oh, so my dog is an American Eskimo. Let me see if I have a picture easily of him. I feel like I have one downloaded. Do I not? Ah, here's a good one. I'm gonna have to transform. Here is Indy. He's like a white fluff ball. He's a Spitz, like a Husky or a Pomeranian, but he's 25 pounds, even though he looks like he's probably 40 pounds. Just because he's like 50% fur, white furry fluff. And what you can't see here is that, okay, you see there's like it looks like an island, but it's like a little rock above its head. If you look sort of where the trees are below the trees, there's like something in the water. There's a seal lying on that rock. Indy didn't notice the seals. And so this was like, we were on the beach by ourselves and we're like, okay, what is he gonna do if we let him off leash? And he's only been to the ocean a few times. We used to always take him to a beach on Lake Michigan when we lived in Illinois, but you know, that was when he was really little, so like over a decade ago. And so we were curious, like, what he would do. And so he walked in and we're like, are you going to swim? That might be annoying. And we're like, okay, but his recall is not great. But also he doesn't wander far from us. He can't really hear very well anymore. And so then, like, you know, we put the leash back on, but we were amused that he went and just stood, and then he was like, wait, I don't want a bath. And so then he came back. And so that was funny. But anyway. Yes, the water was, this was, I think, around Thanksgiving maybe, which is also why there was no one at, I mean, this particular beach is full if there's like, you know, I would call it crowded if there's like 4 different groups on it. There's usually like other people that like are walking, but it's just funny because it's like, yeah, it's a very small beach, and so there's just not a lot of people there. But it's one of my happy places. And one of the places where I collect all my sea glass. I am obsessed with sea glass. Oh good, I'm not currently recording, which is good. Okay, let's see. Where do I, yes. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, so like every once in a while I stop and fiddle with something. What I'm doing is I'm moving this hook down, because basically as I'm spinning, the yarn is going like around one spot, and then I move it to go down and down and down, versus, yeah, and I try to keep it like as even as possible. Oh dear. Which is not always that easy. Yeah, okay, so yesterday in the neighborhood, I saw the coolest thing. There's a guy in the neighborhood who, he has like a miniature toy husky or something. It has like the black and color markings of a husky. It looks more like a husky than a Pomeranian, but it's the size of a Pomeranian. It is tiny, probably, it's got to be like 8 pounds or something. And so we see this dog around the neighborhood a lot. Well, there are also some standard size huskies in the neighborhood. So this little dog, like the mini husky, was next to the big husky. And I thought that, like, I was like, this is cuteness overload, and it made me so happy. And so I find that really, really amusing. This is looking really pretty. Now, so the question will be, should I try to fit more than 100 grams on one bobbin? And the answer is probably not, because I think what I'm going to do with this is make it a 2-ply yarn. And if I'm going to do that, and if I'm going to want 200 grams of the yarn to fit on a bobbin, then what I'm going to need to do is have space. Because also, the 2-ply yarn will be way fluffier and less dense than this is what I'm spinning right now. So like right now, I'm spinning, I would say probably fingering weight singles, maybe like heavy fingering in some areas. But what happens is, so the wheel is going clockwise, counterclockwise right now while I spin. Then when it comes time to plying, I will have the wheel going in the opposite direction. I'm going to have it go clockwise. And so what that does is it does remove, the act of plying does remove a little bit of twist from the yarn, which you're not that close and you can't necessarily see. But like if you twist yarn to put in a skein and then like fold it over on itself to let that twist sort of travel back, the act of doing that makes the singles feel fluffier. If that makes sense. Yeah, spinning can go really fast if your singles are going to be thicker. Now the wheel can only handle, like if the yarn you're spinning is very thick, it can be hard sometimes for the wheel to manage, just because like the yarn is going through like these holes here. If it's too thick, then it can get a little bit stuck, and so there is like an attachment to this that allows you to bypass some of the stuff for spinning thicker yarn. And I have it somewhere. But to spin really thick yarn, you either, because like right here, I'm now using a thicker piece than I was using before. But it then becomes really hard to draft. So like if I'm starting with a section this thick, okay, I was able to break it by relaxing my hands, fine. But it's a lot harder to separate than it is if you have a thinner piece. Then you can kind of pre-draft. And if I'm going to be going for something thicker, then I might go through and pre-pull everything apart. So that way not only is it thinner, but that way you've blended things together a bit. And so then that can make it easier to draft as well. And so I can pre-draft this section by just sort of gripping, and then you loosen the grip a little bit to help some of that go. And you can see how, you know, we have these spots of color, and as I draft, those darker specks are getting more and more blended out. And we still have beautiful, beautiful variation on our yarn, and variation of tone and color. But yeah, that is just something you can do that can make things easier depending on what it is you are wanting to create. But the speed at which you're spinning doesn't really have as much to do with that. So if I wanted to treadle at the speed I'm treadling, which is a comfortable speed for me to treadle, because I could go slower. If I wanted all this to go a lot faster, I would need to go to a smaller whirl. And so the whirls, this is this piece back here where I have this band on. That is determining, and I forget the ratios. Off the top of my head, but the whirl will determine, okay, how many twists do you get per times that the wheel moves around? And so different spinners may choose different whirls and have different preferences there. And so, because you could choose to treadle way faster and use a bigger whirl, or you could use a much smaller whirl and treadle slower. So one thing that could speed this up a bit, to still get the amount of twists that I need, would be to use a smaller whirl to get more twists per revolution of the wheel. But that could just be harder to manage, and given that I had had a long break, I didn't want to deal with that. Now, in some sections, we get what I like to affectionately call barber pulling. And that is when you have sort of multiple colors that are all going through a little bit at the same time. And so then you see like the pink and blue together in one spot, and that can be super, super pretty. Now that is very likely to happen when I add more fiber, because there I'm more likely to have two colors on top of each other. But it can happen randomly, and it's happening like right now, just from the way I've drafted things and when you have color transitions and things like that. Now, I spun a really fun yarn once where, you know, I mentioned all those fiber clubs. I had a yarn that I was like, I'm not a fan of these colors. And so what I did was I drafted it and separated it in advance and then put it together in a way to intentionally get barber pulling. And I want to see, it ended up being one of my favorite yarns ever. I'll try to find it. I need a other keyboard. What's this? ChemKnits. Cool. Let's see. All right. That help? No. Not really. Okay. Spinning, what's this? So there was this fiber here, which, you know, I was like, okay, wait, we've got purple, orange, and green. I don't know about this. So I took the fiber, and so I separated it, and then I sort of put it together in this way, so that way, like as I drafted, I would draft the orange and the purple together, and they wouldn't necessarily blend, but they would give us like a barber pole kind of thing. So my hope was that it would sort of twist like that, right? And so I pre-drafted the fiber and made little balls and then started spinning it. And you can see all this cool barber pulling happening in here. And I forget what, it was superwash merino, and I was also very scared of that. Aha. So do I have the jumbo orifice on? Yes, I do. So I don't know where I have those. Those rings are for jumbo yarn, because also if you had thicker yarn, it could get stuck under those clips. Let's see if I have a picture of it not spinning. Okay, but anyway, this is how the yarn turned out. And I'm like, this is so cool. So, so, so cool. And I absolutely loved it, and I loved it so much that I turned it into this little hat. And I even called the hat the What's This Hat, because this is one of the few things that I've made with my hand spun. And I am absolutely obsessed. It's just a simple like hat with a wide brim, but I think the thing I made up was this cool like pom-pom. And so like I have the pattern, and then like how I made the pom-pom, and itty bitty little Lucas. But yeah, so a lot of my old spinning projects are on the blog, which is cool. Let's see. I know some spin that way. Okay. Do you have a particular reason why you're spinning? Wait, I think that I think I usually spin S counterclockwise. Huh. I guess I didn't remember. Let me see what I used to do. Let's see, spinning. Nope, those are not my tags. Where are my tags? Hand spun. because I used to know the difference between S and Z. I'm like scrolling through my blog. Okay, so I guess usually I do like S at the end. You know, I don't know. I guess that's just the reason why I decided to do it. I know crocheters and knitters prefer things, but let me see what I did with this yarn. Yeah, I did it backwards. I just did it backwards. Yes, I have heard that as well, that it's better for crochet. I think that I did not look up what I had done. I just sort of went for it. And I think and I think I did that because when I looked at, because we chain plied a yarn on the other stream, and I was like, oh, like, okay, I spun this counterclockwise, and so then I need to ply it clockwise, and I think then I was like, okay, I guess that's the direction I go. But probably when I spun that, I spun it to be a single. And so the reason why this question came up about the direction that you're spinning it is because when you knit or crochet, you are introducing twist into the yarn from the way you use it. And so you can weaken the yarn also by like having like too much twist. So I made, for example, I made Keith a sweater out of a single ply yarn. And oh my gosh, sewing the pieces of that sweater together was an absolute nightmare, because trying to do seams with a single ply yarn, they will untwist and therefore just like break and just be a bit of a disaster. So I definitely do not recommend doing that, but I think that it is related to that, where you can effectively be untwisting the yarn. And so I think what I'm going to do now is, because we have this revelation, I am going to, nope, not that one, start recording. Let's bring and attach this yarn. This is a much bigger piece than I thought I wanted. That's okay. It's not a problem. Oh no. Gotta get my rhythm going with the new piece, because last I was drafting the piece that I pre-drafted. Okay. It has been a really long time since I've spun yarn, and I only started spinning again a couple weeks ago. And one thing I realized, thanks to my chat, is that I am spinning S singles, which means that I have the wheel going counterclockwise. Normally, for knitters, you want to ply your yarn in the S direction. So that means that if you're going to do like a 2-ply yarn like I'm planning, you would traditionally spin your singles in the Z direction, or with the wheel going clockwise. But I started this the other way around. Now, it should be totally fine. That shouldn't be a problem. It'll still be a fun yarn. It's just while knitting, it may like untwist a little bit. Not in enough of a way that it would be a problem. It's just in a way that I might notice, huh, what's going on here? So anyway, sometimes you forget things when you set your spinning wheel aside for a few years. But otherwise, a lot of this has just been like riding a bike, and coming back to it has felt pretty easy and natural. how on earth did I get like a rock in here? I was like, what is this? And I was like, this is like hard. And I'm looking and there's like a piece of sand or something that was stuck in the fiber. Okay, I can put my face back on. I have no idea if any of these will end up being shorts, but it could be convenient. Okay. I am going to actually take this time to quickly insert an ad. And I'm just going to take a moment to think about lunch. And decide if I need to order something or what it is I am going to do. Because I have groceries coming. I have groceries coming at some point. Let's see. What time are my groceries coming? This is riveting stream. I will get back and do more spinning, but okay, that's coming 4 to 6. What do I have on hand that I could eat, or do I need to order something? Y'all, I don't know what I'm gonna do. No, Lisa, you didn't call me out. That was super helpful. Because I'm like, why did I make that decision? And I was like, I thought that was the way I was supposed to do it. And then I realized, yeah. And so this is why on my blog, of course, I minimized it. On my blog, whenever I would do a project, then, you know, I'll be like, I would start writing things down. I would write it down and keep notes, not just with pictures, but detailed notes. So that way I could know what I wanted to do and therefore do it better, you know? But yeah, always call me out, even if you think it's not calling me out. Keith took the day off work and took the kids to a water park today, which is awesome and adorable. Okay, let's see. So I'm like, do I have something easy and fast that I can make myself? Or I'm like, would it make my husband sad? Okay, I'm gonna spend more. I did not order anything yet, but I can't make up my mind. Pasta with ever. See, but even making pasta would take at least 20 minutes, right? And so I'm like, what do I have that I could make fast that also, I need to move this back, that also I wouldn't get in trouble for eating without, not that I'd get in trouble, but you know, we got like bulgogi bao from Costco. And I was like, that is certainly something I could just make super fast, but Keith would be really, really sad. Oh wait, let me check the freezer. I may have, okay, you're gonna do what you're doing. Okay, let's kick things over. Let's get a paper towel and check my freezer. I have a bowl of Costco ramen. That'll work. I don't need to order $20 worth of like fast food to get it delivered, and yeah. You're having a so Lisa, you said you're having a difficult time with superfine merino. Is it with the spinning or the dyeing? Oh my. So, because I think superfine merino is going to be its own like level of tricky. Just because I think that like with the shorter staple length it could, because what is merino not curly? Is that part of the issue? It's like a smoother fiber. That is something that I do not know. Whoops. Overdrafted. Now I will say that what I did with the chair today is working better. My back is not bothering me. But I have a feeling my hand will get tired. And you don't get rope burn from just like gently like dragging your hand over it, but the muscle of like pinching and having your hand like that for a long time is hard. This is looking so pretty. It's got this is what I'm spinning. This is where we are. Fun. It has a lot of crimp. Okay. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I will say is that is super the gentlest thing I've ever done with fiber is doing like basically pouring the dyes on the counter, wrapping it up and steam setting it that way, just because you get the least amount of agitation in the fiber. But you know, I still get nervous at times when I'm spinning fiber. And there was a period of time where I really wanted a drum carder or something, or a blending board, because I'm like, oh, you know, how can I take my color journey to another level? And after, you know, spinning, because spinning gives you a new way to get color that you don't get from just dyeing commercial yarn. Blending your own fibers is just another way that you can get color and stuff. So, does a plastic wrap melt? This is a great question. Does plastic wrap melt using it to wrap dyed yarn in a steamer basket? Not in any kind of dangerous way, especially because you're using plastic wrap that you're technically allowed to use in like the microwave and stuff. It certainly does like stick to itself pretty badly, but you can still pull it apart, and so I wouldn't necessarily call it melted, because I think the steam just does not get hot enough to melt it. Because I think if steam got hot enough to melt it, then it would not be food safe. See, we had like a darker spot there, and it got blended through the area. And so this is still going to give a very variegated yarn, but it is fun. And so doing this in, like, I think the only fiber that is still in my shop, excuse me, is the green roving that I dyed in a very similar way using 3 greens. That is going to end up being like very tonal with like little hints and shifts of color. I mean, this is averaged with not a lot of contrast, but I think with it doing something so monochromatic as the green can do that even more so. Hello! Is there better plastic wrap to use? I mean, I just use whatever is cheap. What I can get on sale. Let me go. I can show you the exact one that I use. Right now, I am using, this is the ChemKnits plastic wrap. It is, the box is faded from being in the windowsill. It's Up and Up from Target is the one that I'm using. Now, I don't put acid dyes in my microwave. I will use a steamer basket on the stove, even though a microwave could be faster. And let me tell you why a microwave could be faster. So you know how I like to cold process things? Well, after I cold process yarn and let it sort of sit outside for a day, I will then steam set it for 30 minutes, which means that, you know, my steamer basket will be full for 30 minutes at a time. Now, if I had a dedicated yarn dyeing microwave and I were willing to microwave it, I would microwave the yarn on high for 2 to 4 minutes. And then it would take over 30 minutes to cool. But in that time, I could be microwaving more yarn and processing more yarn, etc., right? Now, the main reason why I don't use acid dyes in my microwave is that I think maybe it's the scientist in me when like we had, and clearly we were dealing with things that were like things that were not safe. I don't know, we'd have a microwave and we would say like not for food on it. And so I just have in my head, because things can like splatter in a microwave, I don't want to use a microwave for food that I'm using for things that are not food safe. So, we've been dealing with our microwave, like the buttons are broken, the handle is broken. And I was telling my husband, like, okay, if it ever breaks completely before we can like, because you know, it's a built-in microwave. If it ever dies completely before we can use it, then we'll buy like a countertop microwave that we could use, and then it could become a ChemKnits microwave after that. So I'm not opposed to buying a microwave that I use for yarn dyeing at some point. I would just want it to be a dedicated one. And currently, I can structure my time since I do so much content creation. I probably spend more time editing and things like that than I do actually dyeing yarn. It feels like more time doing like the behind the scenes stuff. And so I think that, where'd my brain go? Yeah, so that it works for me to have it set up like that, but it might not work for other people. So let's see. Thank you for sharing my wrap. Yeah, I have not had any issues with it melting. Like the things that I've had that melted, the like plastic part of a spoon that I've left on the stove, those little like, I measure out my dyes into little disposable like wine glass cups, the little clear cups that you might have at a party. And that started because those are what I had. But then I wash them and I reuse them over and over. But over time, because I pour hot water into them, some of those like melt a little bit. And once I dunked one into warm water and it melted and lost its shape. And so I was like, okay, I need to be careful with hot water and plastic cups. So that is that story. But yeah, it's never a problem. And I welcome all kinds of questions. I love the like, why did you make this choice? Or, you know, what do you use for this? Or why don't you do that? And for some things, I would say every dyer has their own preference. And so some things that I do, I would say, are non-negotiable. Like if I'm dealing with dry dye powders, I will be wearing a dust mask, a respirator mask of some kind. But I'm personally comfortable removing that mask when I'm not dealing with powders. And others may not be. But others also may be in an environment where there are so many powders around that they leave the mask on the entire time, etc., etc. So. I'm glad that I found something for lunch that is already in the freezer. Okay, stay. Giving my hand a break. Part of me really, really wants to finish this first braid. And I know we're out of focus. It'll either come back in or I'll adjust it. Okay, yes. So making sure I was dealing with the correct video. But I am going to listen to my hands. So if I don't end up finishing this braid, that is why. You used my shoebox to dye fiber and the results were so good. Plus the fiber didn't felt. Oh yeah, the shoebox thing would work well because you're dealing with it cold. The one issue with the shoebox with fiber is that you could probably do well to have a bigger shoebox because, well, if you lift the fiber and put it back, you could see how much those colors blended. And so there may be times when you want to have less of a color blend and have more discrete sections. And so you could use, rather than like a a plastic shoebox, I've seen people use like an underbed storage container size plastic box to dye yarn. So there is that. All right. One thing that has been extra fun for me with this Dyeing to Spin series is that I've been able to add trailers before the live stream. And so those are, the trailers are the shorts that I show like at the very beginning. And today I remembered to turn the volume off as I played that. You know, this guy, I have the volume off. And it's really fun to be able to get the content, but then also just have a reminder before the stream starts. It's like, this is where the fiber came from. This is how I dyed it, the technique I used. This is the result, the fiber that I ended up with. And now here I am spinning it. And so that has been really, really fun for me. Now, last time, I had asked if I should consider like doing like a different angle for, excuse me, for the spinning streams, mainly so that way you guys could conceivably like see more. But I agree that having my hands on camera so you can see the fiber, you can see me drafting, that's where most of the action is going on, not what's happening under the flyer on the wheel itself. Oh yeah, I need new Crocs. So go and write that down. Let's see. Is there a reason why you heat your dyed yarn for 30 minutes? That is a great question. Habit. It's an amount of time that I feel comfortable with. And I think that that's the main thing. It's an amount of time where I tend to have good results with no color bleeding. Now, there are times when I will be dyeing fiber and then I'm like, oh, the color all absorbed in a matter of minutes. I will then either choose to heat the yarn in the dye bath or steam set it just to be sure it's well set. Because it's one thing for your yarn to soak up the color and so that way the water is clear. And then another thing for the color to not completely rinse out. And as a chemist, there's probably not much of a difference chemistry-wise, but artist-wise, it makes me feel better. So that is why I do it, which is a really fantastic question, Monique. That is like a absolute fantastic question. So it used to be, if I would do something what I would call solar dyeing, I would not heat set it after the fact. I would have the water clear, I would go to wash it, and then it would bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed. And so what I realized then, and I was like, okay, you know what? For good measure, even though this was plenty warm outside in the sun, let's just give it a good old steam set. And I think 30 minutes also is enough time for the heat to sort of get to the center of your fiber. Sometimes my steamer baskets are not very crowded and only have maybe like, sometimes my steamer baskets only have, what's it? How much? Well, sometimes my steamer baskets only have 100 grams of fiber in them or yarn. Other times they might have 400 grams. And so if it's more crowded, and especially if things are cold when I brought it inside because maybe it was warm or maybe it was cold overnight when I left things outside, those are all things that sort of go into my thing. Tara, yeah, wow, an underbed plastic box would hold a lot of yarn while dyeing. Well, I think the thing about it, and I think I meant to buy a box at IKEA, and I don't remember if I did, because I want just like a really cheap one. The thing about it is that it would allow you, getting something that's that long, oh my, would allow you to take your yarn, actually, I don't want to take, we'll take this one. So we've got our yarn, right? If you had a plastic container that is really long, then rather than having the yarn sort of scrunched up like I do in a shoebox, you could lay it flat out. And so then you could get more defined color sections and have things less wet. And so that is there. No bleeding during the wash. You just wasn't sure if you should cook it longer. I mean, I think that you can go with your gut. And if the dye is not coming out when you wash it with soap and cool water, then you're probably pretty good. I just like to err on the side of the recommendation. And there are times when I heat it for longer than 30 minutes, where 30 minutes is not enough. It's just a reasonable amount of time that tends to work well with my process, with, you know, honestly, like if I'm filming, needing a break between one and moving on, or if I'm going to do something else, you know, I know a basket will probably free up by the time I finish something. And so those, I guess, are all the things that go into consideration when I consider the amount of time. And so there'll be times in videos where I'll be like, okay, you know what, the 30 minutes are up, but I'm going to leave this in the steamer basket for a couple of hours. Because sometimes I have to go pick up like my kids, from school or something. And so I'm just not going to be home. And so sometimes, and I try, if I'm heating something for longer than 30 minutes or leaving it in a steamer basket, I try to share the why there, because sometimes I do it because I'm like, this is a color that's a bleeder, it needs more time. And then other times I do it because that's what the schedule allows. Same thing with pre-soaking. I need to increase the break. Same thing goes for, pre-soaking the yarn overnight. There are some yarns and fibers where, depending on the technique, I want an overnight soak. There are other times when I pre-soak things overnight because I have done enough planning in advance that I have the yarn ready to go as soon as everybody leaves for school/work in the morning. And so if I've planned out my filming day really, really, really well, then I can have everything wet, ready to go, and hit the ground running. Other times I may have the yarn pulled, not want to have space in my kitchen or in my house somewhere to have wet yarn soaking overnight. So other times I'm like, okay, this, like, stroll and swish are so absorbent that I'm like, okay, I can pre-soak this the day of. I want to have the dry yarn in the beginning of the video. And so, yeah, those are decisions that go into that. Oh, there's a beautiful little over twist. Are we in focus? No. Is this going to require 2 hands? Yes. Uh-oh. No, no, no. Please tell me the stream didn't stop. Is the stream still going? Oh gosh. The thing cut out when I leaned forward. Oh gosh. Okay, no, we're still going. Fine. All right, thank you. Because, see, yeah, if you can hear me say that, but it's like I look over and it was just like the YouTube studio behind the screen thing had timed out. Okay, let's take this opportunity to do some beauty shots. Oh man. Stream is good. Awesome. You guys rock. Beauty shots. How many cameras are too many cameras? I technically have one more webcam, so I could have set this up. Oh my. I technically have one more webcam, so I could have set things up like with another camera, like right there. Beauty shots. Okay. Come over here. More to my hands. Oh, come on. Lift the camera up. We're not going to care about the mess in the background. Even though I really should be doing this from the other angle. Because my hand is kind of in the way. can do this. No, let's focus on this fiber. Oh dear. Let's focus on this fiber. Oh, I wasn't recording. Oh, Rebecca. It is not focusing on what I wanted to focus on. It's focusing on my skirt. Where is my... Okay, I did record that. I was trying to see if I could get... I think I have to do this without spinning. Wow, I am not, I'm like wanting to, where are my hands? There we go. There we go. There we go. That is not a good clip. I was trying to get myself drafting. Oh no! You guys, this is what I get for trying to film some beauty shots. I broke my yarn. It's fine. See, things happen. Whoops. So pretty though. Oh my gosh, you guys are seriously the best. I am not currently filming on the DSLR. I'm trying to get through all this area that I had drafted. I want like a POV shot, but that would be such a pain to try to set up. Okay, let's try this again. We'll just do my hands. I love that the wheel, of course, is squeaking. There is very, very little tension on the brake band. Okay. Cool. You can go over here for now. Let's see. We're getting there. I'm like, because I know from last time that part of the squeak it's partially from the brake band, I think, because you know, like you hear it more when I double treadle, but I just treadled using only one pedal at a time. and that did not fix anything. That's very thin. So sometimes what happens, oh dear, is that you move the whole wheel. Oh my gosh. Nope. Okay. Sometimes what happens over time that you're spinning is that you will start to be really go a lot thinner or thicker with your singles. And so your yarn can change. So yeah, see if I'm only doing that one. Something with me using both treadles, which is weird. But it also could be the pickup. So that I don't know. And so this is one reason why plying your hand spun, as I like to segue in, one reason why plying your hand spun can be useful is that it can help you even out any differences. And so if your singles are a little thick and a little thin, when you have the 2-ply and you're adding, sort of plying a little thick and a little thin with a little thick and a little thin, you can average it out and maybe the differences will be a little less dramatic percentage-wise. Now that's not always the case, but think about doing like a layered tonal. If I want to dye a tonal layer on my yarn, I am going to do this. Sometimes what I'll choose to do is add the yarn into a color once, dye it once, set it aside, and then do the same thing over and over again. And this is something that is particularly helpful to do, for example, if you want a very pastel color, to do multiple layers with a little bit of color at a time. And that is because if you want variation and there's very little pigment, sometimes that pigment is going to bind to the yarn as soon as you put it in, and then you're going to have white left behind. So if you dye it in multiple rounds with hints, tiny hints of color, and slowly build it up, you can get more coverage, still with tonal variation, but with a lot less contrast. And so I think that that similar idea can go for having a multiple that same idea can go into applying your yarn. But also applying the yarn is going to make it stronger. So then you've seen me snap it a few times with too much tension. 2 plies are stronger than 1. And so it just gives you a much stronger yarn. And so that is a reason to do it. You guys, I'm actually going to finish off this braid. I am so happy. Well, I mean, we're not quite there yet, but I'm planning on finishing up all this fiber that I have here in my lap. We'll finish this bobbin, and then who knows when I'll be coming back to the project. Because I don't have another date in mind yet. Because the one thing, like these last 2 weeks, like Lucas didn't have camp, and so he's been around a lot more, which means I get a lot less done. But with Lucas starting middle school, he's going to be getting home much sooner. And so it's just, my days are going to be so different. And not in a bad way, but yeah, it's just going to feel different. Let's see. Woohoo! Thanks, Beth. And hey, now we are not squeaking, which is nice. So this, I don't know if this is just me. So like when I'm spinning onto the bobbin, I like it to be as even as possible. I don't like it when there's a lot of like hills and valleys. And I don't know if that's just a me thing or if other people identify with that too. It's similar to how if I'm doing a design, like a quilt, and I want things randomly placed, I will very, very much plan out that randomness to try to get like no repeats, or maybe only one time there's like the same thing in one column or whatever. And so I try very, very hard with my randomness, which I think is hilarious. Oh man. It's really fun. I'm just watching the fibers draft. It's so pretty. But again, like there are times when I can do this just completely without looking. And that's pretty cool. But man, there are people who can spin for like hours and hours. And I am not one of them. Although I've done almost 2 hours today, which feels great. And so let's see, going on in ChemKnits land, there is currently the Halloween pre-order. At some point there will be a Hanukkah announcement. I have to finalize. I was hoping to have like the packaging and everything finalized. I have all the extras. I finalized all the extras last year. Because I found things and I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to plan for next year as well. So that is good. And I have the main yarn. I just have to figure out what I'm going to do for bonus colorways. And so that I have not decided yet. Oh. But I think one of the things, someday I will come back to this one, and whether or not that's next, or if next is me, it was like a back to school Paradise Fibers grab bag one year. They had like little, oh my gosh, I don't know if they were ½ ounce or ¼ ounce sections of like a lot of different fibers that had been in the club for a long period of time. And I thought that that was such a cool thing to do. And I think it would be really fun to spin that. Not that I would remember at this point what each one was, but it would be really, really fun to, on a stream, you know, finish one fiber, go in, grab whatever is next, and then we could decide, we could divide it up. Ooh, actually, what I should do is count how many balls there are. Okay, count balls. Okay, I was gonna say, count the mystery, the number of mystery little balls there are. Divide them in 3. Okay. Spin onto 3 different bobbins and then ply a 3-ply yarn. Because I think that that would be super cool. Okay, let's see if I can do this now. I think that it would be really, really fun to make a 3-ply yarn just like that. I would really enjoy that. Okay, I think I'm now getting a beauty shot with some of the drafting. Hopefully I won't break things as I do this. And then, how do I do this? Why am I not square? I cannot figure out how to angle this for the life of me. How? There we go. Let me see. Gotta go. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining. It's like getting some final beauty shots so I can do a little summary at some point that will be the trailer for the next iteration of the stream. Oh no! I was like, haha, I'm being so silly. I'm being so silly here. Should have taken off the brake band. I was like, oh, I can just treadle. No, so you can see my yarn, like, it'll twist on itself, right? Which is not a problem. I want to release the tension from the brake band and this. But, oh, what we can do now, because I forgot, this guy is done. So what I can do now, remove the flyer, remove the bobbin. So now we have the bobbin with the braid. And I can even do a much prettier shot as I toss the bag away. And I'm going to do this, move you. I have so many tripods around here right now. Oh, no, don't want to film that. Zoom in. Hee hee. Behind the scenes. Oh no, I don't want to be filming it. Okay. Sometimes we shift the camera to suit the fiber. Other times we do the reverse. Why? There we go. And I'll hold this up for you guys in a moment. That is so pretty. I should just take a picture. Okay. Fancy to camera is done. If I don't do this now, then I will forget and then be sad. But, oh my, and something just fell off of my tripod. Oh, I'm on a roll. Come on, click on. Why aren't you clicking on? There we go. That's not, oh. Because I'm not leaving the drive band on under tension because it got really, really loose and stretched out. Okay, so I'm going to set the wheel aside. Oh, I love that I'm out of focus everywhere. Nope, not that one. I can barely read. Zoom, focus. Okay. Da 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 da. Let's see. I know I'm gonna have to adjust the focus on this one too as I bump into it. So hang tight. There we are. So this is the second braid of the fiber, and here is what we have spun from it. Which I know I will be able to get a much better. It's funny, the picture is like blowing out in a weird way. I hate it when the camera wants to like average things together. Let's see. Yeah, it's like blowing it out. Oh my. I just saw the camera hit. But anyway, all right, guys. We did it. We did it. We have officially spun half of the fiber that I dyed for this project. And so to keep it like from getting dusty and things like that, I'm going to be storing it in this baggie, popping this bobbin in, and you can see that like there is more space on here, right? Not necessarily space for twice as much yarn, but there's more space. And so I'm going to set this aside somewhere, and so then I drop a bunch of other yarn on the ground. And so then next time we'll probably be dyeing more spinning more singles, but maybe I will go ahead and do some of that off camera, and then we'll ply it to create our finished yarn. And so, you know, how much will the barber pulling in these singles show up in the finished spun yarn? You know, it's hard to say because it depends on the individual sections. Because this yarn, you see the barber pole of the plying more than you see what existed in an individual ply, just because your eye is going to see the most contrast. But yeah, I mean, I think it just depends. Oh man. Okay, and now I can bring the iPad over so I can see any other questions. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much for calling it beautiful. I've really hoped that you guys have enjoyed this. Now, one sort of administrative note, especially if you're watching the replay. YouTube will sometimes insert ads every like 5 minutes once a live stream is done. The issue is that they don't do that until at least 24 hours after the stream happened. And in the most recent stream, like it took like days before I went in, saw, and then could manually delete a lot of those ad insertions. So if you ever are watching a live stream replay and it seems like the ads are incredibly frequent, like way more frequent than every 15, 20 minutes, then please leave a comment, and then I'll go back and fix it, because I don't think I've gone back and fixed every single older live stream where they've done this too. Only when people mention it, because I do my best, right? Now, if I'm doing like a 6-hour live stream, I'll then try to have the ads be like every 30 minutes. For this, maybe I would do every 20 in the end, and not everyone sees an ad at every insertion, but every 5 minutes is ridiculous, especially for something like this. And so, yeah, I always manually reduce them after the fact. I just have to wait and remember to tomorrow check, and sometimes it's not done processing, so then I have to wait even longer. And so then it can be hard to remember. So please remind me. And then once again, wait, you know what I can do? Oh no, I can't really move that very well. I was like, oh, I can totally move like closer, but not really, because I can't really move that much closer because I have the camera, tripod, and the desk kind of all together. Okay, and so like a reminder of my announcements. I just dropped it into chat. KnitPicks is having a Labor Day sale, 20% off site-wide with the code for Labor 25, and that goes through September 7th. My affiliate link is in the video description, as well as in the chat, or if you're watching later on the chat replay. And I do earn a commission if you make purchases through my link. It doesn't have to be what I've linked to, so it can be anything on the site. And if you're planning on making a purchase, then it's just a win-win, because then they pay me for telling you about it. Let's copy link. The ChemKnits Halloween. The ChemKnits Halloween mystery yarn pre-orders are available. This yarn will ship at the latest in early October, but my plan is to ship it out hopefully at the end of September, so late September, early October. All of the yarn is going to come wrapped with a themed progress keeper, so you can open it up as soon as it arrives, or you can wait for the video, the dyeing video that comes out on Halloween. And I think those are the biggest announcements that I had today. So now I can back myself back up, so that way I am not awkwardly off camera. Oh man, but thank you all so much for tuning in today. I have made it so that way I cannot... Oh, where is what? Where is KnitPicks located? KnitPicks is in the United States. Is that what you mean? I think that they have a warehouse. I think that the company is mostly based in the Pacific Northwest, but I think they also have a warehouse in Ohio, but I don't know for sure. I don't remember. But I know because of reasons that yes, if you're international, I'm located in the US. I do ship internationally, but I have no idea what's going on with tariffs and things right now. Etsy will, I mean, obviously the buyers are responsible for any taxes or import fees. Etsy can collect, like for the UK, I know Etsy will collect VAT in advance. And then I like make a note on the label that it was already collected. So if Etsy allows those options, then that's worth, yes. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and also never feel guilty if you don't remember, if you don't click on my link or don't use the affiliate link. That's also not ever an issue. It's just, yeah. Because sometimes then people will be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, 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 don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah. I wish I could get commissions for my own purchases. That would be amazing. Or a discount code. I've never asked them to give me my own discount code. That would be pretty cool. But I mostly just focus on the bare and undyed yarn because that's what I use in my videos instead of like showcasing a lot of other new products. But sometimes they'll send me stuff for free, and then that's fun. And one time they paid me with like a Knit Picks gift certificate, which I'm like, this is great because I need it because I will use it. It's like, that's basically cash, even though it's not cash. So, but anyway, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go eat my frozen Costco ramen for lunch. Oh man, if I was, I should have like soft boiled an egg. That would have been awesome. Next time, Rebecca. I'm not going to do that right now. Please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. There is a edited video, long form video that'll be out tomorrow on Friday at 8:30 a.m. And yeah, and then I hope that you all have a wonderful long weekend. Yeah, school starts next week, so yay! All right, everyone. I will talk with you all soon. Bye!